Hi guys, it's Heather with Property Sisters and welcome to episode 2 of Table Talk Tuesday. We are excited to be here today. And Rachel, what are we talking about today?
We are going to get deep. Today is National Suicide Prevention Day. So we thought all three of us have very personal experiences with it. So we thought it was a great thing to talk about.
Our special guest today is Laura Warburton. I met Laura through a mutual friend. I'm so grateful for her when a time in my life that my son became suicidal and her name was given to me. She has been an amazing advocate for suicide prevention, especially with the youth. And I wanted to reach out with her and have her film this amazing video that hopefully can help everyone.
So Laura, thanks for being with us. We would love to hear your story and how you got involved with suicide prevention. Do you mind sharing that with us?
I would love to. First of all, Heather and Rachel, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. It's never an easy subject to talk about.
Right.
So 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, but 5 years ago, my daughter, and I'll just share a picture, is Hannah Michelle Warburton. She was 16 at the time, ended her life by suicide. And it was after a long 18 months after a accident where she got a severe concussion. And I'm really careful to mention that not all kids that get concussions will die by suicide. Right. She had just had several. Mm-hmm. And so they presented as anxiety and depression, and that's how we treated them. And that's how the doctors treated them. They didn't know what to do back then with concussions, except for go home and if you don't throw up, everything will be fine. Well, everything wasn't fine, and we did everything we knew to do at the time. We look back now and can see things that we could have done differently, which is how it works. But at the time, we did everything we knew how to do, and she died. It was too much for her. She didn't want to live with the pain anymore. And the reason why I do what I do is because I didn't want to do what ifs. I'm a type A personality.
Yeah.
And what ifs are really demeaning and impossible and suggest that you could actually go back and change history, and you can't. But what we can do is change the future. We can learn from what we've gone through. So I immediately did because of Hannah, mm-hmm. I was going to learn. Because of Hannah, I learned about mindfulness and took mindfulness courses. Because of Hannah, I started Live Hannah's Hope, mm-hmm. a place of resource for kids, and I offer several resources. I mean, there's just lots and lots of things. Because of Hannah, I started the Hannah Warburton Resilience Award for Utah youth, seniors, where we offer youth, if they'll write in their stories about resilience and overcoming hard things, then they're available. They have the opportunity to get that award. We give out 15 awards a year. And so I get to travel the state and meet with these dynamic kids. But that was sneaky, because what that really is about is that I put the stories on the website. Mm-hmm. And kids want to hear from kids.
Yeah.
They want to hear from us old people. I'm old, you're not. So that's just a few of the things that we've done. But the thing that I am most committed to are taking phone calls like yours. Yeah. Because I know what I felt like.
Yeah.
Alone. My daughter didn't want me to tell anybody.
Right.
And so I felt really alone. And it's a horrible feeling as a mom, not to know what to do. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, with the very thing that you've given life to, mm-hmm. and you're dedicated to keeping them healthy, alive, and happy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Laura, I reached out to her. She was given, her name was given to me when my son was struggling. And like you said, it's a helpless feeling as a mom. to not help your child hurt. And it came fast for me. I got a phone call from the school counselor, saying we had a report that he was suicidal, and it was Friday night, and Saturday early morning I got that call. They moved fast. And as terrifying as it was, as a mom, to go in and see your son's okay, there was a lot of peace in talking with Laura. She immediately said to me, stay calm. Stay calm. And she was able to give me those resources and to know that I wasn't alone, that she'd gone through this, and to get him the help that he needed. I was able to have a long talk with him and get him to counseling, and it's still a struggle,
There are some pretty standard things that we can look for. And on my website, there's a resource, what if my child is suicidal? Mm-hmm. What do I do? The prevention part of it. And it goes through everything, basically a QPR class, in short. And QPR stands for question, persuade, and refer. And that is a standardized training that's done across the state. I teach it to all kinds of people. I'm available to teach it to any group for free. I've been into homes. I've been in it. You can use it for professional CE classes. I don't think for realty, but you can use it with many of them. Like that phone call you got. And then what do I do? You handled it perfectly, obviously, because he's still alive. Doesn't mean that if you didn't handle it and he went through with it, that you didn't handle it right. Not what ifs, but because of. But let's go over some of the things you do.
I love that. Not what ifs.
But because of.
Because of.
Right. Yeah. Because of. And you can do that with anybody.
Yeah.
With anything.
Right.
Right? Sometimes you want to use it in a bad way, like with an ex-husband, because of that jerk, I am going to, but still it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
Grow and change, so I never attract that kind of garbage again. Okay?
I love it.
Okay, so, standard. A person, a child that is suicidal is alone in their head. Mm-hmm. They feel like there's no hope. They feel like nothing's going to change. They're scared. They start feeling like they're a burden to their families. Mm-hmm. They feel like, well, I'm a burden to my mom, I'm a burden to my dad. So, and these are standard things, okay? Yeah. And this is what they're believing. They believe their thoughts, even though they're not true. They don't think they have any friends. My daughter was so popular, and yet she didn't think she had any friends.
Yeah.
She really believed that. I was so convinced she didn't have any friends, I didn't think that there was going to be anyone at the funeral.
Oh my gosh.
And it was not a chair left.
Yeah.
There wasn't any chair in the entire building that anyone could have gotten. It was so full.
Yeah.
But that's what she believed. That's the insanity part of it, okay?
Right.
Truly. So what you don't want to do with this is, you know what, you're a pain in my butt. Quit doing this for attention.
Yeah.
Anybody that is suicidal needs attention.
Right.
They need attention.
Yeah.
Okay? Even if they're doing crazy things, they need attention. Mm-hmm. So, but not the kind of, I'm going to put you down, you're a pain in my butt, and nothing that gives that kind of message. The other message that really works is, honey, we have problems in this family.
Yeah.
We're just going through a divorce or whatever it might be.
Right.
We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
Right.
You are not a burden to me.
No.
You don't say, do you feel like you're a burden? Because they're not going to admit any of this to you. You just say it. Yeah. You just say, you're not a burden to me, honey. I love you. And you mean it. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. And if they're suicidal and they have a plan and you know they have a plan, then you stay with them. They are not to be alone.
Yeah, and that's what Laura said to me immediately. You're like, does he have a plan?
Right.
There's a difference if they just say, they don't.
And if they don't have a plan, but they're feeling really suicidal, then that gives you more time to find a therapist. Well, I don't want to see a therapist, honey. We need to do something different.
Exactly.
And I want to help, and I'm here for you. And a lot of times just knowing that they're not alone is good enough, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes they really are mentally ill, and sometimes they do need medication. However, I'd like to talk about that later. Right? I don't think we need to jump to that. We've got so many suicides, and we have more kids on medication than we ever have. So I'm not sure that that is always the answer.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it working? Right.
Right. Right. We have to look at what's working. So, and it does change the brain chemistry.
For sure. For sure.
So, but I am not a doctor. I'm not here to prescribe. I'm just saying be really careful not to jump to that easy conclusion, especially if you do that, make sure you get therapy too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like some people use it as a Band-Aid
Yeah.
medication,
They do.
not a fixer.
Yeah, I don't have to go to therapy now. And really, and this is the hard part that's hard for parents, and I honestly don't remember what I told you, but it's always a family problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we take the child out and we send them to therapy, and that tells them what? You're the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're a problem.
Yeah.
But if I go to therapy too,
Yeah.
then that helps me. They may not want me in the room,
Right.
and that's okay, but it's part of my problem too.
Exactly.
Because it's our life together.
Right.
Right? So,
Exactly. That's a good point.
right.
Yeah.
So it's family therapy is really, really helpful.
For sure.
At the very least, the kids are in therapy. And there's a lot of different things out there. I know it's very difficult to find services, and that's one of the biggest problems that Utah has.
Yeah.
On my website, again, I have got wonderful programs that teach kids to question their painful thoughts, which is where all our pain comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it for free.
Right.
And I have walked kids back from pretty scary places, and they learn how to question their own thoughts, and they become amazing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always have to take money
Right.
to do
Right.
things.
Right.
So Laura, like we briefly touched on, I know medication, I feel like sometimes can be used as a Band-Aid. I know it helps a lot of people sometimes, whereas other people, I feel like it does make things worse sometimes.
To watch for those signs.
Yeah, to watch for those signs. But can you tell us like your input on that and how you feel about the mindfulness that you found after Hannah was gone?
Yeah, I would love to share that. And this is something that I really tippy-toe around because I'm not a physician. And the last thing I want to do is shame anybody
Right.
or create or add to the stigma of mental illness.
Totally.
Right? So there are definitely people out in the world that need medication.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my problem. There's not one medication that the FDA approves of for anyone under 24.
Really? Wow.
And how many people know that?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
No, but you go, and your number one prescriber is a family physician who has had about 15 minutes
Right.
with you and your child.
Right.
Okay? And
Wow.
they're educated by the pharmaceutical companies.
Yep.
Okay? This is a problem. And it's evidenced by the results that we're getting.
Well,
We
the problem I feel like is try this medication, and if it doesn't work, come back in 4 weeks,
Right. Try
Right.
different
And
kinds.
we'll up it.
and
Yeah.
we'll change it, and so it's that merry-go-round of okay, let's try another one, let's try another one, let's try another one.
And it takes 4 weeks usually
Yeah.
for it to even get going.
Right.
Which we could talk about ketamine, which I am very much in favor of. However, let's get back to this because it's a great question.
Yeah.
Because there are people definitely, and that I know them, that are benefiting by medication, and if they were to come off their medication, it would be tragic. And there
Right.
are people that are truly bipolar and schizophrenic,
Right.
and
And it helps.
and it helps, and they come off their medication because they are feeling good and doing well, and then spiral.
Yeah.
And so that's not good, right? So here is my thing, and this is what I experienced with Hannah. We were underdiagnosed, over-medicated, and undermanaged. Let me just say it again.
Yeah.
Underdiagnosed. It takes longer than 15 minutes to get diagnosed, to put a chemical in your child's brain that's going to alter them for a good long time.
Right.
Undermanaged. You don't go back in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You don't just not go back.
Right.
You get therapy in the meantime, and then you want to make sure that you stay up on things and get educated and
Yeah.
take responsibility for your child's health and your own health.
Yeah.
Don't just feel a victim
Mm-hmm.
to what a physician might say. They may not know.
Yeah. Well, and listen to that intuition as a mother,
Yes.
right?
Oh, so
Right?
powerful. Yes.
So powerful.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And trust it and be patient.
Right.
That's type A personalities.
Right.
But you know, my daughter was a type A personality. Mm-hmm. She was a go-getter. She was class officer, actually a student body president.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she was an amazing girl.
Right.
Played sports.
How did she get her concussions?
Well, the first one was when she was born. And I didn't even realize this. I was at the Capitol running a bill.
Yeah.
And I was doing it for the Epilepsy Association of Utah.
Okay.
And they put me on their board to give me access to everything while we ran this bill. And during that time, I started identifying that my daughter had had seizures all her life, drop seizures, that I didn't realize. But when she was born not breathing. And so she went from that then to when she was 4, she got stitches in her head from riding around on a little thing that kids ride around
scooter,
on.
Little bike,
yeah, just doing her thing.
Right.
And then after that, I mean, she wanted to be an MMA fighter. Let me just show you this picture again. Okay.
That's
She kicked
serious?
butt. Oh, she was so strong, and
I love it.
they gave her black belt at her viewing, and she deserved it.
Right.
She was tough. I could tell you stories. A lot of times when I teach classes, people will say it. I get them to admit it because everybody thinks it. It's a weak mind that dies by suicide. Mm-hmm. That is the furthest thing from the truth. Mm-hmm. You have to have lost all hope.
Yeah.
That's not a weak mind. That's a mind that has tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to figure out a way out and couldn't.
She didn't want to die.
Nobody does.
Right.
Not really. They just want the pain to stop.
Yep.
Everyone just wants the pain to stop. I mean, I've been suicidal.
Right.
I know what that feels
Right.
like. And then they have to have the courage to actually do it. Mm-hmm. It takes strength. And that's a scary thing to say to people.
It's true.
But it's absolutely the truth. And so these are not weak-minded people. No. My daughter was anything but weak-minded. She was stubborn as hell is what she was.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too. She was. She figured she didn't want to live this way. And she wrote that in her note.
Did she?
She said, if I have to live this way the rest of my life, I don't want to do it. And if you find this note, then I was brave enough to do it. She actually wrote that.
Wow.
And I didn't understand how basic that is. Mm-hmm. How basic for something that we don't understand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the same. Well, it's the same with everybody. Mm-hmm. It's the same MO with every single person, and yet we don't think we understand. It's the same. So, like we were saying, if you have somebody that comes to you, you tell them I'm here. Yeah. And if they have a plan, you take them to the hospital. Yeah. And if they're underage, then that's no big deal. If they're over 18, then you need to talk to them and say, come on, let's go get some help.
Exactly. So yeah, like Laura was saying, the first thing that this school counselor said to me, and I give him props. How trained are these counselors, school counselors? I don't know, but he was amazing. And he said, find out if he has a plan. And if he does, you're right, get him right to the hospital. So in a weird way, there was some peace when he told me he didn't have a plan. He was just very unhappy with what had been going on in our family life and his situation. And the thing that I kept saying to him over and over again is, we'll get through this together. And I just said, I got your back, and you have mine, and I love you more than anything, and we'll get through it. And I think him looking at me and his mom saying that, for even if it was a split second, I feel like he didn't feel alone. Mm-hmm. That he's like, Mom's got my back, mm-hmm. And like I said, it's not. It's still concern, and I think it maybe always will be. But as long as we keep that dialogue, and mm-hmm. he feels that he can trust his mom and come to me, or if I can still mm-hmm. look for those signs of him mm-hmm. struggling, kind of reverting back to being in his bedroom and not coming out, I can have that conversation.
That's a sign. He knows that you love him.
Yeah.
One of the most horrifying examples I heard is a man speaking from the stage. It said, the reason why I didn't commit or didn't die by suicide was because I loved my mom too much. I want everyone out there to know that if your child dies by suicide, it's not because they don't love you. Okay?
Right.
What he said was wrong, not true. Usually it's because they feel like a burden and because they love you.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to do this to you anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a twisted, they don't think like us.
Right.
And then the other thing, what did you say?
Not to be like how he reverted to being alone in his room.
Right. So those are some of the signs. Great point. Being alone in your room, not having friends, spending too much time on the phone.
Yeah.
Phones in of themselves are a huge problem and a huge contributor. Not just the social media, not the fact that they get on the phone. It's the amount of time they spend on the phone and not enough time touching.
Yeah.
Not enough oxytocin. You're going to do a lot of good with your table talk. I love that.
Yeah.
You're going to do a lot of good with that. But hopefully everybody that watches this is not on their phones all the time.
Right.
You know,
and are they feeling what we feel as we hug each other when we greet each other? You know, you're not
Right.
having that physical connection with people
Right.
as much, right?
Right. And plus the other key thing that is completely physiological and proven is that kids need sleep. So they need to sleep 8 hours. But what they do is they leave their phone on the side of their beds waiting for the ding.
Yep.
Waiting
They
for
don't
the
turn them
notification. And that keeps them in a hyper state of sleep, not sleep.
Right. So is it the REM? They're not getting
Right. They're not getting enough of anything. Deep sleep. I'll ask kids, you know, so I'm not going to call your parents and tell them to take your phone away because I know better. You know, you'll get another phone like that and they won't even know you have a phone. Okay. I'm asking you to take responsibility for yourselves. Okay. So go to sleep. When you're up the next day at school, are you feeling stressed? Are you really, really worried about your tests? Are you really, really tired?
Yeah.
That's why.
Right.
This is what you can do. Go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's okay. I tell
Exactly.
people all the time, you can call me anytime except at night when I'm asleep. I'm not going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So here is Safe UT. Here's an app. Put it on your phone. They're up 24/7. And they're great.
And that's the app we got on.
Yep,
Is
that's
the
part
Save
of what
Utah.
that's what Hannah helped her to pass. That's what we did the very year after she.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And his friends notified that, went and sent a request, whatever it is, at like midnight on Friday, and it was the very next morning. That counselor called me 8:01. He said I barely could wait until 8. Like I wanted to call you immediately. I didn't know if your phone would be awake or on. My phone wasn't on, so it was amazing how quickly they moved.
Yeah, Safe UT saved her son's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Safe UT.
Yep. Yay!
Well, there's a lot of people. There's Representative Ullison, and there's Senator Thatcher, and there's Barbara Thatcher, and there's Missy.
Even my little ones know about it. And it's taught in the schools.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
It is, and so is QPR through Hope Squads and other means.
Right.
And before, one of the very first question I had after Hannah died, because our therapist didn't tell me that Hannah was suicidal.
No way.
She was 15 and 16, and they did not tell me how suicidal she really was. They're afraid to touch it. Everyone's afraid to touch suicide, and really suicide is just a book cover. That's it.
Right.
We can't be so afraid of it that we're afraid to talk about it.
I know.
Just open it up because there's this unresolved pain. It's like drugs. If you're doing drugs, drinking, it's just a book cover. Open it up and see what pain is inside.
What's the root of that?
That's right. That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. And that's what life's about.
Yeah.
So if we're not doing that, we're not living.
Yeah. Right.
We are just kind of zombie-like.
So, Laura, can you go into how you find mindfulness? I feel like meditation, but mindfulness meditation especially, could really benefit a lot of people that are struggling, or a lot of people that are helping those that are struggling, that are close to them. Can you go into what that is exactly?
My daughter, because she was young, couldn't go to this neuropsychologist that was recommended by McCady, the neurologist over there, until she was 16. I'm not sure why. But she ended up going when she was 16, and that was just about 2 months before she left, before she died. But one of the results that he gave us was that her brain was permanently changed. And now I realize that I'm not so sure it was a good idea to tell her that.
Oh, wow.
Right? But I did. But he also said the one thing that can really help her, and just because you're changed doesn't mean that you can't get better. You know, it could be better, right? Which we never even thought of at the time.
Yeah.
Is MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction.
Okay.
And
you found out about this after?
After, because mindfulness is such a key word, or a whatever you call that, where everybody says it. Mm-hmm. So I'd call therapists and be like, do you do mindfulness? Well, I know about mindfulness. Okay, click, no. Okay. You know, so about a month, and we were traveling part of that time, and then she left. And then after Hannah died, my friend, unbeknownst to me, and unbeknownst to her, sent me a flyer from Davis school system that was offering MBSR classes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a mindfulness course. Mm-hmm. And so I contacted the facilitators of that course through Davis Behavioral Health and have had a long-term relationship with them that's just been amazing. So I took the 8-week course, and it's an actual course. Wow. And it changed my life. You know, it's a practice, but it really...
What was the key in that it changed? The thought process?
Understanding that my thoughts could be like clouds, and that I didn't have to address every single thought. And at the very same time...
So you weren't feeling as overwhelmed?
Right. Mm-hmm. I would just slow it all down, because I'm type A, right? And especially right after trauma, and I'm doing all these bills and laws, and I'm going, and for those I'm not Catholic anymore, but for those that are Catholic, I very much was my penance. Mm-hmm. You know, I've got to do all this. Yeah. I've got to make my daughter's life matter. Well, people kept saying to me, you're ruminating. Well, I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. Ruminating just means that you're thinking on something around and over and over and over and over again. So it really helped me to calm down.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm hyper. I am.
I understand that. Yeah. I'm very similar to that.
Right. So to be able to calm down, and then I pulled that. And also at the same time, someone handed me a book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. That's a lady. And it's all about her work called The Work, or Inquiry, the work of Byron Katie. It's been around for equally as long, 30 years. And she and John Kabat-Zinn are actually very good friends. And I'd never even heard of it. And I've been in a lot of things, a lot of self-help. I'm kind of that self-help type person. Yeah. But between the work, inquiry, and mindfulness, and my own personal relationship with God, that's how I survived.
Yeah.
It's the only way I could survive.
Right. And you take it a day at a time, huh?
Day at a time, moment at a time.
Sometimes. And there's joy. And there's got to be joy in helping others. Right? Like you said to me earlier, helping some of those kids get off that ledge. There's got to be some...
I'm really particular with my words.
Yeah. Yeah, what would you explain? How does it feel when you've said...
Relief.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Relief.
Because I guess it wouldn't be joy, because in the scenario, right, there's not a lot of joy when there's kids that are suicidal.
No.
But if you get them off that ledge,
right,
you made a difference.
Being there with somebody in reality. Mm-hmm. I've never been good at small talk. And I read people so well that sometimes it's a painful way to live, because I can walk into a room, into a public situation, and no one's being honest.
Yeah.
Right? But now it feels very meaningful. You know, I feel like we're doing this together.
Yeah. And
nobody's alone. No one has to fight alone. No one has to go it alone.
Right.
You know, and I never texted you back. I never followed up.
You didn't need to. I knew you were there, though.
Right.
I still had your info.
Right.
I knew you were there.
So I don't take it upon myself to fix you.
No.
I learned that you're going to fix it just fine.
Right.
And I know that.
Right.
So doing all those things helped me to deal with all the people that were coming to me. I was willing to talk about it. And before me, I guess there wasn't anybody.
Yeah.
I guess I just kind of blew it up. right?
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure. That's an understatement, huh?
yeah, that's what people tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't pay attention to what was
Pretty amazing.
happening.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm willing to talk about it, people will talk to me about it.
Yeah.
But that can be really heavy to people.
Yeah.
If I thought I could fix everybody, if it was my job to make sure that your child didn't die by suicide,
Right.
which it's not.
Right.
Because there are going to be people that die by suicide. But you know what's really weird? And this is just merciful, I think. I know that when people come to me, their child's not going to die. I don't know why I know that.
Wow.
I just know that.
Right.
Wow.
It's powerful.
So yeah, I wouldn't want to turn that away
No.
anytime.
Totally. For sure.
So joy, I don't know,
No.
maybe on some level, some
Yeah.
different description of joy,
Right.
but not like joy like is and I've got a grandbaby born.
Yes, I know. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
so exciting.
Yeah, but joy as in
Yeah.
this is life, this is reality,
This is tough.
we can be together,
Yeah.
no one's alone.
So just in closing, again, we want to thank you so much for coming. She's amazing. You have been such an advocate to so many people, including me. We want to reiterate to everyone watching, you're not alone. You're not alone. Reach out to us. Reach out to family, friends. Reach out. That's the first step, right? And I just want to take this moment to, if we can talk about it, that's the first step.
I'm going to point something out, I'm going to take a little liberty here. We're all worried about image. I want you to look at these two extraordinarily beautiful women.
Oh,
You know, we've got to drop the facade of perfection.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
They are perfect right now. They're perfect in their beauty and in their pain and in their
Scars,
honesty and
yeah.
scars and everything.
Right.
And they could share a whole lot more with you. But they're a perfect example of what needs to be happening. So
Right.
thank you.
Yeah. No,
Thank
it's
you.
it's touched both of our lives personally, and being today, the National Prevention of Suicide, we wanted to, without a doubt, talk about this. And I love that you took the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us, and your story and Hannah's stories. We won't ever forget it. So
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.